Bulldogs, Wolfpack, Tigers, quarterback controversy. It's going to be a busy week in the 919.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday sponsor is 5 Hour Energy. Very appropriate. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB in all caps to receive 20% off of your order. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we're here on Monday. It's a Victory Monday. Can't really complain so much about those. We love our Victory Mondays. NC State survives another scare at home at the hands of the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs by a score of 30-20. We're just going to get right into it. It's going to be the main topic of this entire week. We know where this is headed. But I got to tell you, Kenton, as the rest of the weekend has gone by, I feel stronger that CJ Bailey should start at Clemson.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? An objective look at the all-22 from that game tells me that by a mile, that's your guy. That is your guy. And let me tell you why I say objectively, because I know some people are going to say subjective. And I get it. Normally, I would agree that this is subjective. However, when you look at all the factors surrounding the upcoming Clemson game, there is not a world in which it makes sense to go with Grayson McCall. There's not. You could say, well, you want to keep CJ's red shirt if you're not sure that he's going to be. We've seen that game play out before, have we not?
Burn the red shirt. I don't want to ever hear about red shirts ever again.
Have we? Well, you could go with Grayson McCall has the experience and he's played in moments like this. His biggest moment in his career was a game against BYU and Zach Wilson last minute. And that wasn't the most attended game that he ever played in.
Because I'm petty, I went and looked this up. I saw some people saying, do you think it's fair to just throw CJ Bailey into the fire, so to speak, and let him get his first start on the road at Clemson? I'm here to tell you the biggest crowd that Grayson McCall has ever played in front of was at UCLA last season, 43,000 people. Clemson is 86,000 people, double the biggest crowd that Grayson McCall has ever seen. I think that's a moot point, personally. In that case, I would rather have the freshman that's just going to go in there and let it rip.
Yes, absolutely. And the last thing that I want to point out to you all, some people say 6 quarters, but I won't count the 4 against Tennessee. I'll just count 2-2. Is that fair, Grayson? Is it fair to count 2 quarters against the same defense? You think that's fair?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So in 2 quarters of gameplay against the mighty Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, okay? And this is not to disrespect Louisiana Tech. Hey, they didn't look like a 3-win team. They look much improved. All respect and love to them. But in 2 quarters against Louisiana Tech, this is what both players put up here, okay? Grayson McCall, we're looking at 9 for 13, 54 yards. CJ Bailey, we're looking at 13 of 20, 156. CJ Bailey, 4 for 27 and a touchdown on the ground. Grayson McCall, 4 for 22, no touchdown. The offense looked more lively. The offense looked like it got the spark that it needed. But more importantly, CJ Bailey looked like he wasn't afraid to let it fly. I'm okay. Like I've always said, I'm okay with you throwing interceptions deep. And I'm sure CJ Bailey's going to throw some interceptions that show his freshness at some point in time during this season. I'll live. He already threw one. I'll live. I would not live with a 6-year guy burping a baby. I would not live with a 6-year guy having an offense that has the inability to score. It's a lot like the quarterback up in UVA, Calandria. I told everybody, if Tony Elliott has any plans on keeping his job, you start Calandria right away. Because, yes, he will make the mistake, but damn it, he'll throw you into some games. I look at the exact same situation with NC State. I look at the exact same situation with this team right now, because if you decide McCall is enough, Grayson, do you think that we can beat Clemson with the play that we've seen from McCall this season?
No. If that were to extrapolate into the Clemson game, you're doomed.
Doomed. Give me something. I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure, hey, this is a win because we got CJ Bailey. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is if you're not giving me an exponentially better chance to win as the 6-year guy, if I don't feel like, man, we kind of be, wasting the game here by not starting you, then why would I? Why would I? This is a young man that, again, he's a wonderful young man. By all accounts, Grayson McCall is a wonderful human being. He says all the right things. Everybody loves him, respects him, all that good stuff. Football ain't about love and respect. Football is about the same thing that almost every other sport is about, having more or higher numbers on that board than the opposing team at the end of the game. I believe that it's very clear from what we've seen against Western, what we've seen against Louisiana Tech. I'll throw Tennessee out completely. What we saw in those two games, it is abundantly clear to me CJ Bailey gives you a better chance.
Yeah, and we're certainly going to have our ear to the ground if we get any Grayson McCall news. Maybe we'll get news here on Monday. Maybe Coach Dorn will play it close to the vest. I would probably guess that's what he'll do. But nonetheless, we're hoping for the best possible diagnosis for McCall. But you're right, Kenton, in the fact that this is about wins and it's about losses. It's about putting your best possible 11 on the field, ensuring that you have the best possible chance to win. I don't think you can sell me on the fact that based on what we've seen so far, Grayson McCall is a better option than CJ Bailey in this game. And that's not us saying that CJ Bailey is going to go down to Clemson and drop 400 yards and 5 touchdowns on him. Me personally, and I know this sounds a little bit negative, I'm not even expecting to win the game with CJ Bailey. I do think that inexperience in Clemson's defense, that's a real thing. However, CJ Bailey gives you the best chance to possibly go down there and beat Clemson. Something I thought more about and then saw more of when I went back and watched the Louisiana Tech game. The reason I think the offense sort of opened up a little bit more with CJ Bailey in there is because there's more of a downfield threat with CJ Bailey in the game. Based on some of the defenses that we've seen so far, I think they've keyed in that they don't believe Grayson McCall can beat them through the air. And so that is part of the reason we've struggled so much on the ground, because we become extremely predictable. They can stack the box and stuff the run. With CJ Bailey, not only can he air it out down the field, he can also run. He adds another dimension that we were not getting with Grayson McCall. And I think that alone is more than enough reason to plug CJ into this offense and see what he can get done against Clemson. Is he going to make mistakes? Yes. Is he going to make freshman mistakes? Also, yes. But I can live with a freshman mistake being made 40 yards down the field, 50 yards down the field. Maybe it's over the middle. Maybe it's a short pattern, whatever. I will live with CJ Bailey going out there making mistakes because he's going out there and letting it rip. It looks like McCall's confidence, it hasn't returned. And whether that's related to last year or not, he looks very unsure of himself. You can't beat Clemson on the road like that. You simply cannot. And so I think your best possible option is to go with the kid that might not realize how big the moment is. That's something Kenton said before he jumped on here. Just because as a freshman, he might not even realize the kind of stage he's on. He's just going out there and playing ball. Sometimes that's the best possible outcome to put a new player in, because they're not listening to the outside noise. They're not letting the moment kind of take them. They're taking the moment. And I think that's an opportunity that is on the table for CJ Bailey if you so choose. So just kind of our opening monologue here. That's what everyone's going to want to hear about this week, but the two of us stand pretty firmly. I think CJ Bailey gives you your best shot when you go down to Death Valley this coming Saturday. Coming up next, we're going to get into our offensive and defensive reviews, looking back at Kenton's keys for Louisiana Tech. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is 5 Hour Energy. Makes sense to me. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list of to-dos at work or a list of do-it-yourself projects to tackle at home, take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you can check everything off of your list. If you're like me, you always have a long list of projects for the home. So make sure when you're getting your supplies for the project, don't forget the most essential supply, a 5 Hour Energy shot. With zero sugar in a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and so many more. There's a flavor for everyone. Make sure you try them all. On the site, you also have the option to build your own 12-pack or a 24-pack. You choose the flavors, and they're delivered right to your front door. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, and that's the number 5 and then hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB in all caps to receive 20% off of your order. This offer is only valid from now until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, so head on over to 5hourenergy.com today. Middle portion of our Monday show. Now time to look back at Kenton's keys heading into the Louisiana Tech game, giving our offensive and then defensive reviews. So our first key on offense for Saturday was to score 21 plus in the first half. Did not hit that one. The second one was to achieve less than 8 TFLs plus offensive penalties. We did do that. Combined, the two of those totaled up to 6. So that is a check mark. And the last one, I think we'll probably end up canceling this one out, but it was McCall over 60% pass completion. I think combined, McCall was 69%. CJ Bailey was 65%. So in the middle, that'd be 67% overall. But again, I think we'll go ahead and cancel that one out. 1 of 2 on offense. And then on defense, we had hold Louisiana Tech under 20 points total. Well, they had 20 exactly, so that would be a push. Forced 2+ interceptions. We only forced 1, but it was a pick 6. And then the third one was hold their quarterback under 260 passing yards. Did not hit that one as it was 281. So altogether, I believe that is 2 out of 5, Kenton?
Yeah, we accomplished certain goals that needed to be hit in this game, but honestly and truly, levels are being reset. Expectations are being reset in real time. It's unfortunate that it is this way, but remember in the past, I've said expectations are being set higher than they originally came in at. Right now, they're dropping. They're dropping, and that's the reality, right? You hate to see it, but objectively speaking, you're in a dogfight with Western Carolina and Louisiana Tech. You can say what you want. You can blame it all on Grayson McCall, which I know some people think we're doing, but Grayson McCall has not had great protection. The offense has not done a great job of giving him a running game either in terms of that strain from the other 9 guys that Robert and I was talking about. So expectations have very much so been reset in real time for me in terms of what I'm expecting out of this year. And hopefully I'm proven wrong. But all in all, these keys reflect a game that was much more difficult and much more close than it should have been in reality. But then again, hell, who are we to say it was closer than it should have been? Because again, in 3 games, you struggle against Western, but pull away late. You struggle against Louisiana Tech, but pull away late. And you get your doors blown off by the other Power 4 team that you played so far this year. So while I want to think, man, those 3 are so far all over the map, it's hard to gauge. Is it really? Is it really hard to gauge? It feels like this is kind of who you are and accept it.
Something else I want to call into question. We talked a little bit about tackling in our post game on Saturday. That's still a major concern for me. And it's kind of wild to see that coming from a Tony Gibson defense. You look at Louisiana Tech's receiving numbers. They had their top receiver was True Edwards. He went for 4 catches for 148. Majority of that was on that touchdown that he broke like 4 tackles over the middle and then burst to the outside and took it all the way. That can't happen. That can't happen against Louisiana Tech. It can't happen against Western. It sure as hell can't happen against Clemson. The tackling needs to be more physical. I think little moments like that is where you truly feel the void left behind of Peyton Wilson. So many times last year, he's flying in at 1,000,000 miles an hour and cleaning that up before anyone can blink twice. This year, when you don't have an elite level linebacker, I think you're really feeling those growing pains of missed tackles. All of a sudden, it's 30 extra yards for a running back or 40 extra yards for a wide receiver. That needs to get cleaned up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And I'd imagine Tony Gibson is more than likely all over these guys about the very same thing. But the defense just has not been as physical. And we talked a lot over the offseason about potential drop-off. We've seen some drop-off. I don't think you can spin it any other way.
Yeah, the players who talked about the lack of drop-off, they said what they were supposed to say. But like I said in the postgame, I'm tired of platitudes. Go play ball. And objectively, the ball that's being played right now defensively is leaving a lot to be desired in terms of execution, in terms of finishing the play. Again, tackling in football is like rebounding in basketball. If you cannot do it, the play will not end. That's just the reality of what has to happen. When you see a situation where you have the opportunity to be physical and get a ball carrier on the ground, you have to do it. You have to do it by any means necessary. And right now, we just don't have that mentality of, hey, getting this ball carrier down means everything to me. Guys are coming in with a thud. They're coming in with a forearm. They're coming in with a shoulder. Come in, wrap up, get guys on the ground. It's essential to this team's success. Otherwise, we'll continue to see what we're currently seeing, where a shovel pass that should have been 4 yards turns into 17, where a in route or dig route that was supposed to be 9 or 10 yards turns into a 60-yarder to the house. Because, again, guys are not coming in saying, it is my job to wrap you up and get you to the ground. Instead, it's my job to thud you up. It's my job to put a good lick on you. Your job is to get these ball carriers on the ground, so do it.
And you remember last year, we had a problem in defending explosive plays. We talked a lot about that the first couple weeks. Notre Dame burned us. Virginia burned us a couple times. UConn had a couple kind of very similar parallels, not just in this sense. There's a lot of really weird parallels between 23 and 24 as far as quarterback controversy. Not exactly the same, but the premise is very similar. You get blown out in week 2 against a premier opponent. That's the exact same. Offensive line struggles, running game struggles. It's all been eerily similar to the way 2023 started. KC Concepcion, and outside of his first game against Western, because he went off in that one, haven't really seen much of him since. Tennessee kept him relatively in check. I know he was our leading receiver and couldn't really throw the ball anyway. But in this game against Louisiana Tech, 8 catches for only 25 yards. Does that raise some red flags for you, Kenton?
Not really. Not really, and let me tell you why. He looks hobbled, and CJ Bailey is looking to spread the ball around more. There was objectively a very concerted effort to get more guys the ball and to make throws in the tighter windows to give other guys opportunities than you would normally see with KC. So, I'm not really worried about it. I'm not really stressing it. I know who KC is. With the offensive line and quarterback play that we've seen in, the Tennessee game and the first half of the Louisiana Tech game, you get what you get, right? Like, it's objectively, if you can't get the pass off, how's your receiver supposed to get it and make things happen? And so the Tennessee game, I'm not as worried about that one, because when you gave him the opportunities, did he not make the big plays?
Right.
Okay. So Louisiana Tech, he looked a little hobbled and all that, but more importantly, the quarterback play just was not. The quarterback and offensive line play was not conducive to big receiver numbers.
Something else we've talked a lot about is the skill players and how that alone changes a lot of the offensive dynamic. Still very impressed with the way the skill players are looking. I thought Wesley Grimes had a pretty solid game. Noah Rogers had a pretty solid game. Still need more Justin Jolie. Please, for the love of God, can we get this man the rock?
Another parallel to last year. We're once again begging the tight ends, use them.
Pounding the table for tight end involvement. Justin Jolie needs at least like 6 touches a game. This game, he only had 2 touches for 48 total yards, 34 on that one where he broke a couple tackles and then shimmied all the way into the red zone. I am dying to see this man get into the end zone. He is more than deserved himself a touchdown or 2. Need to have a lot more involvement from our tight end and, skill players as a whole, but especially our tight ends. Coming up next, we're going to get into our big picture takeaways for Monday after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, but that's because it's America's #1 sportsbook. You've already heard our special offer from now until September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you'll need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and if you choose, you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel. Last couple of minutes of our Monday show. Now time to give our big picture takeaways from this 30-20 win over Louisiana Tech. Kenton, what are the biggest things you're going to take away from this victory?
We have found our new QB1. That's the biggest. That's the biggest. In the words of one boss man D'Lo, it's the biggest, because I'm telling you right now, some people are saying, hey, you're overrating the CJ Bailey performance, or you're over-indexing on and all that good stuff. I need y'all to realize something. When we had McCall in the game, the offense sputtered continually. We were sputtering in perpetuity. For those of you who don't know what in perpetuity means, that means forever. We were stuck in a rut time after time after time. When was the last time that we had a touchdown drive led by Grayson McCall?
Fourth quarter of Western.
Fourth quarter of Western. And he didn't get injured in the first quarter of this game. So, with that being said, the idea behind we have found our new QB1 is not that CJ Bailey was perfect. It's not that he's going to create an irresistible force out of our offense. It's not that he's going to win the Heisman this year. It's not that he's going to take us to the promised land, get us 11 wins this year. It is he is better than the alternative. I love Milk Duds. I love them. They're my favorite candy. One of my favorite candies when I'm going to the movies, right? I know, I get it. I'm a bald black guy who loves Milk Duds. Ha ha, hee hee. Okay, cool. But if they don't have that, I'm still going to say, you got some Twix in there. You got some dots in there. That may not be my favorite. They may not be the best thing in the world, but it's better than having to eat the little, the sweet and salties, the ones with the little nuts in them. They're terrible. They're god-awful. That's your option right now. Something that you look at and say, you know what? It's not the best thing in the world, but it's good. Something that could grow into something better. A player that could grow into something bigger and better than what he is today. Or, well, we just want to go with experience for experience sake. Well, damn it, what has the experience done? Is the experience in the room with us?
Yeah.
Is it in the room with us? So, objectively speaking, we found our QB1. Coach Dorn, don't play around. Don't mess around. I can tell you firsthand, when you play around with what God got for you, don't end well, okay? Don't let this one not end well.
Piggybacking off of your point, the only real point I've seen people have in favor of McCall is that experience. And sure, there is something to be said about that. He's a 5-year, 6-year guy in college football. He's played a lot of college football. But to my earlier point, he's never been in an environment like Clemson has. And to Kenton's point, the experience has done a whole lot of nothing for us so far this year. Respectfully, again, I'm not trying to dump on the guy, and we certainly wish he's healthy and well moving forward, but he just simply has not been good enough. That is the bottom line. He has not been the quarterback that we have expected him to be. And so what I saw from CJ Bailey on Saturday, he gives the offense a better chance to succeed against Clemson than I believe Grayson McCall does. And it's not because CJ Bailey lit the world on fire on Saturday, because he didn't. He had a very freshman entrance to this game. He had a freshman stat line. He threw a very freshman interception, but he played well, all things considered. He played well enough that I do think he is the best option for Saturday. If you want to talk big picture, the rest of the season, we can get into that another day. But when you're looking just this upcoming game on Saturday at Clemson, I do believe that CJ Bailey gives you the best chance to put points on the scoreboard. And for the coaching staff, their job is to put the best 11. We've said that a lot here in the last couple of weeks. The best 11 on the field on both sides of the ball. That needs to be the goal. Now, not exactly my big picture takeaway. My big picture takeaway, and I hate that I think this is the third time I've said it here in as many weeks, we have got to get tougher on offense, on defense. I won't criticize special teams. Shout out Kanoa Vinacet. That dude's nails. Special teams, awesome. We got to get tougher on offense and defense. The offensive line, the quarterback position, the running backs need to be tougher. Linebackers got to get tougher. Secondary's got to get tougher. The whole team. You're going to play against probably one of the toughest teams coming up this Saturday on Clemson. I know that's basically a full week away, so we'll touch on that later on. But you can't get pushed around by Western. You can't get pushed around by Louisiana Tech and make a narrow escape in the fourth quarters of those games. You are the better team far and away in both of the games we've won, and we have not looked like it at all. The toughness has simply not been on the table so far for this team in 24. And the motto for NC State football is hard, tough, and together. The tough portion has not quite been there. It needs to be there if this team is to try and reach its potential here the rest of the season. So overall, we got to tighten up, and it's got to happen extremely quickly. Biggest game of the season is coming up at the end of this week. This team needs to believe that they have everything they need to go down there and shock the world. That'll do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments down in the comment box. Tell us your big picture takeaways from our 30-20 victory over Louisiana Tech. Tell us who you may or may not think should be quarterback at the end of this week when we go down and see Clemson. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. Be sure to mash that subscribe button, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.